Figueiredo's brought the wrong cue, or someone else's cue.
I think it's Elliot Slessor's. I heard him say Elliot's cue.
Okay.
Wow, well, that's a pretty good shot with a strange cue.
Keep it, Igor. Keep the cue. Bite off him.
When you think you've seen it all, and it's been a difficult few days, isn't it, for everybody, everywhere. It's a source of some amusement that he's using the cue. Looks too short for him. And he's a good player, you know, Igor Figueiredo, and he'll tell me that he's even better player if he can knock in a break here with somebody else's cue that he's not seen before. He didn't even sort of feel right when he put it in his hand to play that first shot.
Well, if it is Elliot Slessor's, he'll need it back because he's still in the tournament. He's missed that one. He's playing Rory McLeod later, so he will need the cue back.
But surely at some point they could get his cue out and he could just have it. I don't see why he has to finish the first frame with that cue. Why can't they just, someone get the cue and they swap it over? I mean, I don't understand that part, but there must be a reason for it, but I can't think what it is.
Some old bylaw or something.
Well, I mean, just get the cue, somebody, if anybody's available. As I say, there aren't many people floating around that are not refereeing at the moment. That's the problem, isn't it?
Well, that's it. The you weren't with us earlier. I was explaining 7 referees, their flights were cancelled. So they're being worked to the bone, these officials.
Yes, I saw some footage earlier on, which I might stick on Twitter, actually, which was unusual, of Jackson Page beating Dominic Dale. Dominic Dale was taking the balls out, and Dominic, while he was taking the balls out, was slowly undressing, taking his waistcoat off because he'd lost the match. But in the meantime, he had to take all the balls out for his opponent respectfully. So I might retweet that. It was funny in a dark way.
The best way.
I think that's about right. Yeah, thank you. Foul and a miss. Deal trump 5.
Michael Hart has won 4-0 against Jackson Page. So Holt through to the next round. The last 32 round, he'll play Sam Craigie or Ashley Hugill. And they're currently out there, Hugill 1-0 up. I mean, it's hard enough playing trump at the moment. He's the last player you want to play, really. The form he's in, always on the main table and just playing brilliant stuff. But when you're using someone else's cue, it just gets harder. Glenn Sullivan-Bissett is the referee who's explained the situation to Igor.
Foul and a miss.
Yeah, just to let you know, for what it's worth, if anyone's interested in seeing that Jackson Page, Dominic Dale finish, I've retweeted it. Foldsy147 is my Twitter. It was just unusual that it turned out that Dominic was doing the refereeing for his opponent.
Obviously can't see red's full. There's been no warning. Caught that a bit thicker than intended, but I'm not sure he's left a pot on. Well, actually, this red, I think, does go. So, a chance for trump. Yeah, in already because he made a century against Lee Prickman. Could have finished with one, didn't get on the yellow. But he's now made 89 centuries this season. Incredible rate of scoring. Incredible season he's had. We wonder about first-time world champions. They're under more pressure. Well, here's Tatiana Wollaston. She's got the cue, and he's about to hand it over.
It's like the handing over the Olympic flame, isn't it? It's an official thing that's been done.
Yeah. Possibly they should have waited until he was at the table. Trump's actually at the table here, but anyway. He's got the cue now.
Interesting conclusion, actually, looking at the way that Figueiredo's match was won against Matt Selt, where Selt missed the black and it went along the cushion, stayed over the green pocket, and Selt was just giving the table the thumbs up and he was most unhappy. Figueiredo knocked it in. It's just an odd finish to a match as well, so some strange happenings over there today. Anyway, Trump is at the table.
9.
Yeah, it's we all know this. Things have changed in recent times, and they are quite trying times. But at least the tournament is still going on. It's a chance for someone to win the title, chance for Trump to win the Bet Victor European Series bonus, and break a record. It would be 6 ranking events in a season. No one's done that before. Meantime, that's gone wrong.
16.
So Igor may get a chance to use that cue in a moment. Problem is, he just pots them from everywhere, doesn't he? What a great recovery that is.
Isn't it that sums up the way that Trump is now with his game? The fact that he so often looks as if he's out of position, and you think, well, that's end of break, but he finds a way of reigniting the situation.
Yeah, as I was saying, he's won 5 ranking titles this season, so he's equalled a record that was set initially by Stephen Hendry and was then equalled by Ding Junhui, Mark Selby and Ronnie O'Sullivan. But he's missed that one. So Igor Figueiredo does come to the table with his cue he's been reunited with.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the suggestion that he had to wait till the end of the frame was... there didn't seem to be any good reason why that should be. And mercifully, he's got his cue back. He made a mistake. Well, that case didn't look much like the other one. It looked to be a different colour. Anyway, we move on. Igor is happier now than he was a few moments ago. But he can play. We saw that in that previous match. You mentioned that 140 break that he started against Trump with in one of the home nations events, but yeah, it's a question of stringing together what clearly is some talent that he's got.
One.
Yes, of course, he learnt the game on much smaller tables. In Brazil, they play on smaller tables, and he didn't play on a full-size table until he got to that World Amateur final against Alfie Burden, that is. So obviously got used to the bigger tables very quickly. He's had troubles, of course, funding his career, getting over for the qualifiers and so on. It's not easy when you've got no sort of support network behind you in terms of money from your local association and so on. It's been difficult for Igor.
Just a final point on the round that was played earlier without referee. Someone's asked a very valid question to me on Twitter. How on earth could the miss rule be enforced? I don't know the answer. There is a roving referee, but if he's not watching out, you know, if he's watching 8 games, whatever, he or she, how on earth could that person adjudicate over that?
That's right. I was told that the roaming ref was on 3 matches at a time, but as you say, you have to see the shot to make a decision. But now it's been decided that the refs will officiate every match. Long days for them, but everyone mucking in at the moment.
Exactly, and I don't criticise anyone when I say that. I think that's just the way it had to be. There's no one's to blame for that situation. These referees have come over here, they're working every match, and they're doing their best. So it's not a criticism of anyone, it's just the circumstances that we're in this week. At least we're playing some sport.
15.
Well, he's got himself into a nice position here to win this opening frame.
16.
Bit of a trivia question though, isn't it, Neil? You know, how many frames have been played with a player using 2 different cues? Not many. Started with Elliot Slessor's, going to finish it with his own.
I don't have the answer to that, but I remember Luca Bassel came out with 2 different cues when he was introduced at the Ali Pali for the Masters
23.
a couple of seasons back. And I remember an Australian player who I knew very well. John Campbell, based in West London, he often practiced with 2 cues, and he would use different cues for different shots.
24.
But I think that was at the point where his head had gone towards the end of his playing career, if I'm honest with you. If you're listening, John, I know chance that he is watching this from Australia. Hopefully he is, and hope he's well. But something that he tried for a while, it didn't. I don't think it worked. I suppose it's a bit like you see some very odd putting techniques down at golf, don't you? You think, how can that work? But
29.
players are trying anything to make it work better for them. Anyway, for now, Igor's got his cue and he's in. Bit of a distraction to Trump, I think, as well,
30.
all this.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, without wishing to go on about it, he was handed his cue as Trump was actually on the a black. He had to wait while it was all done. But he had a good chance after that. Trump broke down.
$37.
Sean Neil Robertson will be keeping half an eye on the results, maybe both eyes on the results tomorrow if Trump's still going, because of course if Trump doesn't win the tournament he gets that bonus.
$45.
He didn't know where the scoreboard was. Yeah, it is there, don't worry, that hasn't packed in. Get the abacus out or something.
He's a very
46.
talented player, though. I'll say it again, you know, the point you've made about the smaller tables in his home country. There's the scoreboard he's looking for. He is up in the gods a little, isn't it? There we saw one of our trusty cameraman, Darryl. All the regulars are over there doing the great job. Unsung heroes of it all. No, but he's a very talented player. You can see that. There's a lot of skill in there. Honing it into becoming a tour professional who can really make it pay is a different story. And he's appeared in the World Seniors before. So it's not that we're talking about a young upstart coming through and trying to make it big. You know, he's been around a while, playing on different size tables, so it's an unusual way into the game, isn't it?
Yes, of course, his very celebrated compatriot, Rui Chapo, passed away recently. He was 80 and he was a Brazilian snooker legend. He used to play in a distinctive white hat. It was a cap, actually. He's just a little bit betwixt here, though. Is Igor, 32 in front, still 51 on. Not ideal in anything.
No, I think if he went for that red down the cushion, that left red, I think he'd get it. Because I see if you go in and quite comfortably along there, but he's not played on this table, I don't suppose. I reckon if he dropped that in, he wouldn't stay over the hole. And he's playing a more difficult one, I think. Played it well. That's an excellent shot. That really is a good shot. Perfectly controlled.
Giving himself every chance to kill the frame off. It's the sort of thing you expect from Trump, that not in ideal position, pulling out a good recovery. But Igor Figueiredo has done it here.
Yes, he's making it a very interesting start to the match if he wins this frame. Because he did that when they played in the Welsh. With that delightful 140 break. No, I didn't see which way Judd Trump went after that. But he's got the little problem
66.
again of not being perfectly on the red, which this time is frame ball. Well, that's not going to go, is it? Surely. Wow, that has pulled down a long way, hasn't it? Goodness me, that is like one of the old tables from the clubs with the nap of the cloth sucking it downwards. He won't care, but I didn't believe that was in. I wonder what anyone else watching at home thought. One thing he has got is a load of cue power. I've seen videos of Igor Figueiredo practicing, and
74.
I don't think I've ever seen anyone with more cue power than he's got. I know it's saying something, but he can screw back 2 lengths of the table. If he drops this in, I think it'll accept the ball, as I say, playing it slowly. If he's anywhere near, that is, of course. Well, he hit it hard. If he hit it softer, I think he would have dropped.
So he needs 3 snookers. The problem is he doesn't want to pop the red ideally, because normally you would leave it on, chance of the free ball, but it's right over the pocket.
It was always a little bit wide, but it still nearly dropped in.
Well, he has kept it out, in fact, but it's just a question of has he left it on? That's the problem. And he has, so he's conceded. So an eventful start. Igor Figueiredo turned up with the wrong cue, eventually got the right cue, and has won the frame. So the world champion, Judd Trump, loses his first frame of the day. Igor Figueiredo leading in Gibraltar by 1 frame to 0.
Igor Figueiredo
By 1 frame to 0. It's best of 7 to reach the last 32. There's another round to be played, of course, this evening. In the end, he did well there, Igor, having got in all the business with the cue resolved. Halfway through the frame, made a good break. But from the break-off shot, leaves a chance. Yeah, Rui Chapeau, I mentioned he passed away. He wore that white cap, and he said he was going to take it off only when he lost a match. And in the 80s, Steve Davis was invited out to play him, and of course he was world champion. Everyone thought, well, Steve can't lose this, but he wasn't aware that the tables were so small and the pockets were tight, and indeed Rui Chapeau beat him, kept the cap on.
Touching ball.
Well, that means, of course, he can play directly away. The fact that it is a touching ball. Good safety shot, that hit that thin like that. A terrific shot. That is absolutely beautifully played. I know it's only a safety. We always rave over great parts, but that was some shot.
Liang Wenbo, who of course beat Trump to win his ranking title back in 2016 English Open. He's 3-1 up against Barry Hawkins, so going well there. Just going to reach, I think. Ryan Day 3-3 with Lu Ning, who had the walkover against John Higgins, who was one of the withdrawals. Still, a few players that go past Higgins on the one-year list and get in the Tour Championship. Higgins is 8th on that list, with 8 players at the tournament.
Foul.
Ooh. He didn't. He played sort of almost an air shot. He just caught the white, but didn't hit a red.
Yeah, I think he called it himself. Well, this is clearly an error. Is he going to get away with it? No, he isn't. Chipping the red over the pocket. He desperately needed some cover after that.
Come on.
we mentioned he made the 140 against Trump first frame in Wales. After that, he only scored 11 more points in the match. Trump had 2 centuries and just dominated. So Figueiredo knows from bitter experience, just because he's won the first frame, there's a long way to go yet.
Yeah, the business with the cue seemed to inspire him in the first frame, that when his own cue came, he was not happy with things, and he sort of channeled it the right way. Like you say, there's a long way to go in this match for him to win. Yeah, you mentioned players that could end up in the top 8 on the one season in the Tour Championship, which currently is going ahead still next week. Obviously, Chara knew is one of those, isn't he, who got through yesterday. He had a good run through his matches. And that would be some achievement if he finished in the top 8 players on the one-year list.
17.
That's Tour Championship is a very difficult tournament to get into. You've got to be right up there all season, especially when you think Tepchaya hasn't won anything during the course of that season, didn't lift a trophy.
Yeah, as it stands, he's 11th. Karen Wilson is 12th, Joe Perry 13th, Mark Williams 14th. So they're still all in the tournament and could still go past Higgins in 8th place.
25.
But of course, in the case of Tepchaya and all the others, they would have to win this trophy to be in it. £50,000 first prize.
Yeah, all these subplots going on. Of course, Trump might think doesn't need the money, but he would love to effectively win 200,000. That's what it would be. 50,000 first prize, the £150,000 bonus.
31.
Yes, and of course break the record for the most ranking tournaments won in a season. Any player.
Yes, this season he's earned 778,000 plus £100.
36.
So he would go to almost £1 million if he were to win the title.
37.
I think to break the record as first-time world champion as well will be very impressive, because with the extra expectation and pressure on him to have done it in those circumstances, you can only applaud that.
$44. $45.
Now, I think he might have seen a plant, which is a 2-ball plant, but it would have to be a 3-ball plant if he was to play it, with the red in the way of the first red. It looks like he's on. There's the bottom 3 reds, basically. And the right-hand red is the one, which looks in line with the pocket.
52.
It's right jaw. I don't think it's one of those you'd have to make it into a plant. I think it would go in off the jaw, but it's not dead straight. That's well played.
53.
There was a sufficient gap between the reds to make it into a dead plant. As you saw, he didn't hit the first red full on.
So getting closer to winning the frame, then he can focus on trying to make his 90th century of the season.
61.
Made his 700th career century at the Championship League just recently in Leicester. Only the 5th man to do that, and the youngest.
68. $69.
So already a couple of snookers needed, the blue to make absolutely sure.
That wasn't a very well played shot for once. I mean, he had quite a big target, and he only hit the left side as we look of
74.
That little triangle of 3 reds. Get the feeling that Figueiredo, well, I don't know if he'd carry on. We're going to find out in a minute, but he needs snookers. Might just want to get on with the 3rd frame. Now we'll find out.
Judd Trump 74.
74. And Figueiredo is coming back with 3 snookers required. Chance to clear reds though. He'd clear 4 of the 5 reds, then play for the snooker on the last one.
1. Eight. 9.
Well, that puts an end to that because he's missed the black. So Trump, in pretty swift fashion, has levelled up the 74. He'd loved another century, but he's won the frame. He's on the scoreboard. And we're all square here in Gibraltar. Remember, it's 1st to 4 to reach round 3. Judd Trump and Igor Figueiredo level at 1 each. Judd Trump then to break in frame 3, level at 1 each.
One. Please declare your colour, Igor.
Wait. Igor's going to nominate the colour he's going to play, of course.
Black ball. Igor Figueiredo 1.
Referees are having a hard enough week at the moment, aren't they, out with this snooker? And no doubt a bit tired. And one or 2 people have made a comment just saying that yeah, some heavy breathing. It's not Dave O'Reilly, it is the referee, but he's doing his very best out there. So we're not going to criticise him for what he's doing. Some sterling work. If he's out of breath, then I'm not surprised. He's working his socks off.
Zhao Jingtong has finished off very impressively against Jamie Clark. 122 and 120 the breaks in the last 2 frames. He won 4-0. Dangerous young player who, you know, a lot of people think could certainly win something soon. Going to play either Barry Hawkins or Liang Wenbo next. And that's gone 3-2 to Liang Wenbo. Hawkins has won frame 5. And Lu Ning has beaten Ryan Day. So I said how much Ryan Day enjoyed Gibraltar, but it's come to an end this year for him. 4-3. The winner of this match, the Trump match, plays Daniel Wells or Martin O'Donnell. They only just started. Wells is 1-0 up. So it's probably the case that Trump actually won't play his last match on table 1 because the other match won't be over in time for our next match.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of snooker to be played in this game, but I can see what you're saying. Of course, he may not win. That's the other factor.
That's very true as well, yeah.
The other thing, briefly, social media mentioning a lot at the moment, but hey, why not today? Elliot Slessor has confirmed that it was his cue that Big Igor stole, as he put it. Which it's a good thing he's got his back as well, because they're both going to need theirs. They're both still playing.
Delightful.
1.
Lovely shot. Yeah, we've had a lot of messages actually since Neil gave the shout out there from people saying where they're watching. All sorts of glamorous places like Preston, Coventry, also Tredegar in Wales, where of course Ray Reardon is from. So let us know where you're watching from around Europe, and maybe some people will be tuning in possibly for the first time. At Foldsy147, at Dave Hendon on Twitter, and let us know you're out there.
Yeah, some people, not even, no joke about this, someone watching in lockdown in Spain, Shelley Frape, and also I did see Riley Parsons, who played in the tournament in a hotel room after losing first round, waiting for his flight home as well. Hope you'll get around to wherever you're going safely, everybody who's played in this event. And indeed everyone else out there just watching.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, Trump just found a bit of trouble, but we're so used to just seeing him pop balls like this when he's apparently in or out of prime position. But not that one.
Judd Trump, 9.
I think what is the case, I think we can say it is only a game, this, but sport is an integral part of so many people's lives, either playing it, watching it, just being part of it in some way. And so suddenly when it goes away, it does make a difference. Meanwhile, he's attempted to cut that in. He's overcut it in the end. It was thin to start with. He's managed to overcut it.
Well, it was one of those situations, Dave, where he knew he'd be on a colour because whatever, if nothing else, the blue was going to be there. So he was always going to be on something. There was no doubt about that, which on those shots sometimes you don't know where the cue ball will finish. So Trump is away again.
Eight. Nine.
So Figueiredo attempted that cutback, didn't get it, and will be fearing the worst based on not just what he saw in the last frame, but what he's seen all year from this man. Of course, we've spoken a lot about Jack Trump, his brother, who's been with him the last sort of 18 months and has made a big difference, and Judd's spoken about that, but there's no player guests allowed in the venue, so Jack will not be in the venue. I'm sure he'll be watching, and he's just seen his brother not get on that red
22
to the yellow pocket. No player guests allowed in today.
Judd Trump, 22.
Well, Trump still took this on. This was a tough one for sure. And a little bit all or nothing.
He's gone into that a little too much, but he's okay on the black there. Didn't mean to kiss the pink on the way through. Now, he could probably risk going into these. It'd be unfortunate not to be on something if he hits them right. I think he's on that one. Like I say, he is really blessed with cue power, you know. As I say, I've seen extracts of shots he does where he plays these deep screws almost just to show people what he can do.
9.
I've seen a lot of players over the years with cue power. I had a bit myself, but Jimmy White I thought had phenomenal cue power, but I've never seen anyone who can screw back and play all those shots with more power than Igor Figueiredo. It's not everything in the game, but it's just interesting that he's got all the power. I mean, he wouldn't have just touched that one to get back there. I'm talking about the deep screw shots. He's got all those shots in his repertoire.
15.
Yeah, I think what makes this such an interesting match is he plays a similar game to Trump. He likes to go for his shots. As you say, he's got cue power as well, as Trump does. Seems to enjoy being out there on the main table as well, rather than sort of tensing up because of it.
He
lost a match to Graham Dott, didn't he, at the Scottish Open, 4-0, and Dott said that Igor only had 6 shots in the match. 2 of those would have been break-off shots, so it was a bit of a drubbing, but that wasn't on the main table, that was on one of the outside ones. Nicely done. So he's opened things up. This is a good chance now to retake the lead.
28.
It's a very good chance, isn't it?
$29.
He's held it more, I think, than he believed he could. He's finished right in the middle of nowhere. It's one of those, if he could have played it slower, he'd have been on the bottom red, but I don't think he could have done. And I think he probably believed that he was worried about going too far up the table, but he's finished in between. The red below the pink would have been the one I think he would have played on. Now he's got to get the long tackle out, the extended rest. Because they used to be the half butt, didn't they, and the 3/4 butt years ago. I don't think they exist anymore on these pro tables. There's probably a few floating around in local clubs.
Yeah, you'd always be a bit trepidatious in terms of what sort of tip it would have on it, and it's always a bit rickety as well.
We often wouldn't have one at all. Nice recovery. Just want that cue to land on the colour. Yeah, well, he may have a shot at the green, but it's amazing how you can finish in a series of places which are no good. He's done it again.
Yeah, there's so much space to get on one, and he left himself a pressure ball here. Awkward cueing with the other 3 reds, all possible if he slips up for Trump. So another big shot. Not quite comfortable on it. Really good cueing.
He's done well. He doesn't want any more things to go wrong in this break now. He wants it to be plain sailing from here, but he will need all 3 reds
40.
either way.
Thank you. 41.
Just to say, Barry Hawkins has levelled up 3-3 with Yang Wenbo from 3-1 down, so they're going to have a decider there to sort that one out.
there you see what just a small example of the cue power. Again, I've seen other players that can do that, but he did it with the minimum of effort. It was a brilliant shot to get the red in play, wasn't it? Thought he got up because someone was moving behind the line of the shot, but that seems unlikely. Nobody there, playing behind closed doors, unfortunately. And it goes. That's very well done. Now, just got to ensure that he gets up to the yellow here.
50.
And Snookers will be near. This is a terrific shot. He really got some fizz on that.
51.
So just up to the yellow. A little bit further would help, but it's a very impressive contribution from Igor Figueiredo.
Yeah, he's looking assured, isn't he? And he's showing Trump that he's feeling good in these pressure situations. Judd Trump lost his way, didn't he? He didn't get on the red that he intended to. And then he took on that very tough red, long red,
56.
which he missed, left a chance. And Figueiredo needs this yellow, and it should be 2-1 to him.
$58.
Got his tour card back by winning the Pan American Championship in Houston, Texas last year. It was due to be staged again this year, but has now been postponed because of the ongoing problems caused by the coronavirus. But he's got a 2-year card, so he's got next season as well.
Yes, and without going into any names, a lot of players
65.
have made it on the tour over a number of years, from places in the world which aren't renowned for producing good snooker players. But Igor Figueiredo can play the game, you know. He can really play.
70.
So he's on there as a good player, not as just somebody from an unusual part of the world. And as I say, that has happened before.
Yeah, they play snooker all around the world,
76.
obviously in amateur competitions, and Igor Figueiredo's broken through as a professional, and he's showing why here. This has been excellent. What a great break by the Brazilian.
83 in the frame.
It's 83.
Igor Figueiredo.
A clearance from Igor Figueiredo, and he made the most of the chance, and he's showing Judd Trump that he can do that if he gives him a chance. So for the second time, it's Igor Figueiredo in front against the world champion. He leads 2-1. And 2-1.
So Figueiredo, good for his lead, thoroughly deserving of it, against the world champion, the world #1.
1.
Trump straight in there with a good long red. He's potted so many of those in the last 18 months, hasn't he? Those sort of shots which, well, let's face it, it may look easy, but that is still got to be knocked in, those ones. There was a shot in the previous frame. Igor Figueiredo mentioned that there's no old half putt and 3/4 butts. And Bristol Snooker has said that Eugene in the team for World Snooker has got an abundance of them back at the ranch in Bristol. That's because they don't get used so much now.
It's good to know that it's still somewhere.
Still knocking around.
Preserved. I should say on the Twitter thing, I've had quite a few people asking about the World Championship and what's happening with it. Well, all we know at the moment is it's not been cancelled or postponed. World Snooker Tour say, as far as they're concerned, it will go ahead. Of course, things can change. It's not for a few weeks yet. So, at the moment, they're planning to go ahead with it, but obviously that could change. There's apparently going to be new government guidelines next week, new legislation which could affect it. Judd Trump, of course, is scheduled to walk out on the first day as defending champion.
13.
Had a message from Dave in San Francisco saying he's enjoying the Gibraltar Open on a rainy Saturday morning. It's good to know.
And if you're watching, and you don't always watch snooker, you, as Dave said earlier, you really are watching the best in the business in Judd Trump.
18.
This game has come on the leaps and bounds He was a terrific player from the age of about 10 onwards in the Bristol area. When he turned professional, everyone thought it was just a matter of him turning professional, winning
90.
everything. But of course, he almost had to serve those years of apprenticeship where he got to qualifiers and was beaten by some pretty seasoned campaigners. Then it all clicked. Got to a world final in 2011, won a ranking event, won the UK Championship later that year. Then hit a bit of a flat spot again.
24.
Now he's the finished article. He's world champion, world number one. He's won just everything just about in the last around about 18 months, as I say, when he won the Northern
25.
Irish. In, what would it be, 2018. He won it again in 2019 and a lot of tournaments in between. And I think when he won the Masters, and he, in that first session, took Ronnie O'Sullivan apart, that was a 2019
32.
Masters, led him 7-1. So he realised that he had moved his game on to the next level, in my opinion. Won that final 10-4.
33.
At a venue that O'Sullivan had been so successful, the Ali Pali in London.
Yes, he was doing it to Ronnie, I think, that was what made it special. It was a great performance anyway, and then, of course, he outplayed John Higgins in the World Final. Well, he's in early here. At some point, he's going to have to disturb a few.
40.
And he knows that if he offers a chance, Igor Figueiredo can certainly take it. He proved that in the last frame with his 83 clearance.
$41.
Well, he has disturbed a few. This is a good chance now to level up, and this is turning into a really good match.
Referee Glenn Sullivan-Bissett, who just asked for a little bit of time there to get the pink back on its spot. The spot's not available, so no others are available. And the shot he played where he forced that pink in that Dave mentioned really did get the Reds in play.
$48. $55.
So getting closer, 55 ahead. Still going to need a couple of reds with colours. Just slightly awkward queuing here. No problem though.
56.
This is the thing, we saw it, didn't we, at the last event, the Players' Championship against Steve Maguire. He made a miracle clearance in that match. When he's asked questions right now, he finds the answers. When you think he's in trouble in matches, he just seems to find ways to overcome them.
Yeah, and often with Trump, his breaks are quite eventful. You know, they're not. You know, you might see a Ding Junhui century or a Ronnie O'Sullivan century. Even Stephen Hendry in his prime, there'd be wonderful, wonderful break builders with Judd. He's a great break builder, but in a slightly different way. You know, he can drop out of position, but he finds ways of getting it all back because he can pot as well as pretty good cue ball control, although that went awry there.
Yeah, and he wants centuries. He wants to make 100 centuries. Of course he does this season. He's made 89 so far. So you just have to smash into them here and hope for the best, maybe.
Yeah, well, I sincerely hope he gets the opportunity to make 100 centuries, because that would mean a lot of good things. Anyway.
Oh, one's gone in. Look at that.
it was on its way, and I think it actually hit the cue ball and still went in.
Wow, and he's got position as well. It's worked out brilliantly.
I think this hit the cue ball a second time. It's on its way. Wow. That is a fluke. And look at all the 3 reds all lined up down the middle of the table. Incredible.
So every chance then
81.
to make his 90th century of the campaign. The record, of course, 103 Neil Robertson. He'd love to set a new record, but to get to 100 would be special as well. And as
82.
you say, it's it's out of his hands whether there'll be enough snooker or not. But as long as he's still here in Gibraltar, he's got chances to rack a few more up.
$89. 90.
One thing you can say there, it's a terrific game of snooker, isn't it? This one, very enjoyable. Igor's played a big part in it. Igor Figueiredo. Judd is now responding. A lot of people are sending us tweets saying they're watching the snooker. They might usually be doing something else. And pleased to have you here. Really are. You'll be enjoying this match, I think. Hopefully, because it's been terrific. There's a century.
105.
Nobody in today, of course. No spectators. So that's why there was no applause.
107.
Yesterday, spectators were allowed, but for the remainder of the tournament, not so.
Yeah, the official guidelines in Gibraltar changed yesterday, so obviously World Snooker Tour had to reflect that.
110. Thank you.
Well, right-handed on the brown.
Of course, the 147 would be the strange one. And I know that you've been involved in those when they've been made at the Championship League, because the player you can hear the footsteps walking back to the seat
119.
after the 147's been made.
Well, Dave Gilbert made the 147th 147 at the Championship League. That was a bit of an eerie affair. Anyway, Judd Trump,
125.
helped with that fluke, has gone on to make the century. His 90th of the season, and emphatically levels up. What a cracking game of snooker this is. 132. You can do your own applause for that break, because it was absolutely brilliant. And Judd Trump and Igor Figueiredo involved in a mini classic here. 2-2. Remember, 4 frames needed to reach round 3, the last 32 of the Gibraltar Open. And the match continues after this short break. Do stay with us, because this is turning into a bit of a thriller.
The break-off shot, Ashley Allen, who's watching. Doug Ray, Lorraine Hay, all watching us. David Wilkinson, Stuart Patchett, Emma Hunt watching from Hull. Esther, who's watching here from Israel. Goodness me. We're pleased to have you all here with us.
Yes, and honestly, I've had so many. Apologies if I can't get to them all, but I've had a few more. Laura from Beverley in Yorkshire. Matt also in Yorkshire in Barnsley. He said, much preferred over football any day. As Igor takes this one on. It's a very open game, this, isn't it? Dan is watching in Lymm in Cheshire. He says, can you say hi to my mother Claire? It's her birthday soon. No problem with that. Happy birthday, Claire. Aidan Healy in New Hill, Tipperary is watching. Trump knocks that red in.
1.
Yes, and just slides past the yellow enough to make the blue potable.
She mentioned Stephen in Dublin as well. He says his wife's from Brazil. He says, and these are his words, she hasn't got a clue about snooker. Because of Igor, she's now glued to the match. It's good to know. And he's overcut the blue in the end.
Judd Trump on.
I guess the problem is when you make a mistake like Igor did at the start of the frame, having sat at a century, you think you might be sitting there for a long time, and then your chance comes, and you have to have your concentration still up.
We've also had a message from Simon Carter, a young lad, knocking in a few pool balls as the snooker's on in the background. So he's obviously inspired by it. Great to know everyone's enjoying this anyway. Oh, but Igor won't be enjoying that one. It's a big shot, that. News opening of the Reds up.
It's been kept cold, hasn't he? That's the point. For a while now. It's the irresistible force of Judd Trump, and the way that he break builds is started to maybe have left its mark a little bit. Missed that chance anyhow.
1.
But at 2-2 he's in the match, but it depends how many Trump makes here.
Long one. Thank you. Judd Trump, 1.
Well, it's one of those, it looked harder to miss than to pot, but he has missed it. And that's unusual for Trump. Rest pot success normally would be much higher than that, but yeah. Interesting. No, he's not impressed with that. That's, for him, a little bit embarrassing, really.
Thank you. 1.
Well, this is the kind of chance he needs to now take from playing well in the match and being involved. So maybe going on and beating the world #1. This is the moment where you have to step up. Well, that looks a good shot. It looks like he landed in a plum area to get
4.
There's a run through onto the black, perhaps. He's always got that blue up there as a reserve. Doesn't really want to be taking that on it at any point yet, because it's a long way from there, net down for the next red. But it's always going to be there as a possible if things go wrong in the break.
Five.
Liang Wenbo's beaten Barry Hawkins 4-3. He was 3-1 up. Hawkins fought back. Liang has won their decider. Looked a good game, actually. And Liang plays Zhao Jingtong in the next round. An interesting one. Confirmed matches in the next round so far. We've got Rory McLeod against Elliot Slesser, Joe Perry against Jimmy Robertson, Tom Ford against Jack Lazowski,
12.
Xiao Guodong against Lu Ning, Michael Holt against Ashley Hugel, and of course Liang Wenbo, Zhao Jingtong, as I mentioned. Lazowski, by the way, has made the new highest break, 1-4-3. And the good news, if you're enjoying this, is we should have another match after this one. We don't know who it'll be yet, but it'll be one of those matches.
20.
Yeah, the tournament has been upgraded in prize money. I know that things have changed and players have not made it here, but most players entered in the first
21.
place before all the outside issues, came into our lives. And this is a £50,000 first prize now for a 3-day event, which is a good prize fund. All part of the European series, so the tournament has certainly moved on from what we've seen in previous years. Not as big as some, of course, but still a tournament worth winning. Now, he's lucky there, he didn't play that.
28.
That cue ball he just gets that cue ball back with so much ease. I mean, again, he's gone too far there. Incredible timer of the ball. Now, if he can get to this blue, he's the kind of player, if it's straight, he could zip that cue ball straight back down. He wouldn't want to have to play it. I don't even know if he can reach or can get to the blue. The brown might be slightly in the way. There's the power to do it.
Blue ball.
Clearly he couldn't get to it in the first place. It's a little unfortunate to finish where he has. It was the one place on the table, couldn't do anything.
Well, it's twice now that blue's been missed. Of course, Trump missed it and left it there, but Igor couldn't quite see it to pot it. So Figueiredo back in his seat after breaking down on 29 in what is a real pulsating match, isn't it? You're not quite sure what's going to happen next. Well, what's going to happen next is Trump's going to knock in the fantastic red, and he is on the blue. What a pot that was.
Just felt a bit sorry for Igor Figueiredo on that, to finish where he did. But like you say, he might have to be punished for it severely after that terrific red that Trump knocked in.
Put it this way, if Trump misses this blue, then there's something wrong with the pocket. It's been missed twice to this pocket.
He's got to get down into an area for the next red, isn't he? That's not perfect by any means. That is not the easiest shot that he's left with.
6.
He might look at the round the right side of the table, but even then, yeah, while I'd expect him to get it, it wouldn't surprise me if he didn't. It's not a certainty.
Well, he's potted it, but it's not finished well. Now, does he take the blue on here?
7.
I think he will. Didn't get on pink or black, but the red went in, and he normally would knock these in. Bang in the middle of the pocket.
Sure. Thank you.
Now, if he's got an angle on this pink to stun up for one of the other reds. The red by the black is the one he'd like to finish on. Just where he's pointing his cue would be the perfect place. I think it would go from there. Of course, when the pink respots, the other two reds are not so easy to get on as it looks with the pink going back in front of them. I wonder if that is the place he meant to finish. The line might be okay.
19.
I don't think there's a lot of room to play with here. He might just be able to get to the potting angle of this. It's quite tight because he potted it into the thin
20.
side of the pocket, which may have been the only way he could have done it.
$25. $26.
Just looking at the line, what he doesn't really want to do in potting this black is hit the red below it, unless he's playing the cannon on that red. He wouldn't mind then. And that's how he has played it. That's terrific. He did play purposely to hit half of the red. If he'd have double kissed the red, of course, that would probably have ended up not being on a ball. So in the end, it was well controlled.
$34.
So Trump into the lead. I can tell you the last TV match on this table will be Tom Ford against Jack Lazowski, which again could be a cracker. Two very attacking players there. Of course, Ford's had a couple of maximums this season. Lazowski's had the highest break in the tournament so far, 1-4-3.
Yeah, that'll be a real good game to watch. As Dave says, there'll be
39.
see some more very talented players. Not slow players either.
$40.
So it's black, red and a black. That'll be 28 in it. With only 27 on if that happens. So he's likely to play on the black here.
$48.
Players occasionally look up what looks up to the heavens, but the scoreboard is right up high above the table.
So one snooker
55.
needed, and Judd Trump, he's being forced into playing well, but the point is the form is there, we know that, that's not in question. Figueiredo had that chance.
57.
Missed the blue. And Trump knocked in a great long red. The blue was waiting over the pocket, and he's going to move into the lead. He's missed that, so this is just a slight glimmer. It's two snookers. No real reason to miss that.
Absolutely not. No, I mean, I can't think of a good reason why he did. Now, he might just pot green and brown to get one snooker to tie on the blue. 5-point penalty on the blue, of course. Any other foul would be 4 points on the colours, but when you get from the blue, it's 5. And if he took it all the way down to the pink, which I don't think he will, he would need one snooker to win, because it would be a 6-point foul if one ever took place.
Well, he must have thought the frame was over, and Trump couldn't even do the old glare at someone in the audience thing because there's no one there. So it's just a miss. He maybe just took it for granted.
Igor Figueiredo, 7.
Yeah, one or two people have already made the point that if there's anything good to take out of this, and there isn't really very much the way things have gone with the audience, that at least no mobile phone will put a player off. Which is true.
Absolutely. Well, he didn't get the snooker, and this blue is potable. And, ooh, close. Thought that was in, actually, but just a little bit of annoyance from Trump's perspective. This frame could yet be a respot if he got a 5-point snooker and then potted the last 3 balls.
Sort of a rather strange sight earlier on, actually, Dave, if you witnessed it. Joe and Philip were commentating, and it was the first match of the day when this situation where you're allowed to knock balls around in your 5-minute practice. It was Jack Lisowski hitting a few balls, and then it was Jordan Brown as opponent. And Lisowski was in his chair just watching on his mobile, and he was told not to be on there by the referee. And the match hadn't even started, but told to put the mobile away.
Well, he's still going, Jack. That's the main thing for him. Yeah, I watched his practice, actually. He had 4 minutes. After about a minute, he looked like he'd had enough. He just stopped going for all these long pots, and he wasn't getting many. Anyway, he's played much better in the actual tournament. Yes, Alex Higgins had an early mobile phone, didn't he, in the 80s? But it was not like the slimline smartphones we're used to now. It was basically sort of the size of a house. Well, Figueiredo has potted the blue, so 1 to win on the pink. Put all eggs in one basket here.
Yes, because if you don't get the snooker, your opponent will roll it in or over the pocket. So you've got to make it a good one very quickly.
Igor Figueiredo, 5.
Well, even if that is a snooker, there's not a chance of him missing this one cushion. Simplest snooker you'll see to hit. So it was a risky way of going about things. There's always a glimmer. You can get a one in behind the black. The black's in a good spot, but he hasn't really got the angle to get one here. And now this is the point. Trump, he could roll this over the pocket now, perhaps. That's what he tried to do anyway. So it looks very much like this frame is going to go to Judd. Black's not in a very good place for getting snookers now, in the first place. Whatever snooker he got here, you just feel it would wouldn't be difficult enough. They put right-hand side on there. It's the wrong side because it will go left up the table against the nap, so it's never going to be a snooker. Strange little passage of play, isn't it? Colin Riches is watching from Teignmouth in Devon. Trying to help him. Says, can they say hello to his parents, Mick and Sheila, watching in Clacton. Darren Jones watching in Nottingham. Kind words you're saying about us as well. And Sam Wesley watching in Leicester. And Winger is watching with his mother in Bognor Regis. And Simon Timmings also watching in Hastings, enjoying the snooker. Hello to all of you.
Chance for Trump to pot the pink. Obviously, always conscious of the cue ball as well, in offs and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, Colin Richards was actually making the point that he's got tickets for the second Sunday at the Crucible. Well, he hopes it goes ahead, and of course we all hope so. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. And also Philip Woodward, who's watching from Skipton, North Yorkshire. And Darwin Percy watching from Chatteris, which I think is where Joe Perry's from, isn't it, Chatteris?
Yeah, Joe's still going strong. Now, this pink's still going strong towards the pocket. Well, keep that one out, Igor. He hits it on the right-hand side as we look, he should do, but you can't control where it's going to finish. It's all very well keeping it out, but where does it finish if you do? Well, he's potted it, actually, so that ends that. He gave it a go.
Figueiredo 6.
All started when Trump missed that easy green, but he'd done the damage, really, by then. And Judd Trump, for the first time in what's a very entertaining match here in Gibraltar, is in front. He leads 3-2. He needs one more frame to put himself into the last 32, the third round here later this evening. Judd Trump then on top, one more frame, and he's victorious once again.
A couple of the people that complained, and one of them was my good friend Alfie Bird, and I understand his frustration, but under these circumstances we have to cut everyone a bit of slack. Referees are getting a rest, play was continuous, and it's not happening now.
Well, at least he didn't go in off there, because if he had, then he would leave an easy pot to the yellow pocket. Very nearly kissed the cue ball into the pocket. That would have been trouble for Igor Figueiredo. Yes, I think the thing with this tournament, and this is maybe why some of the players were upset at what happened, it's a big event, this, because with Tour Survival in the background as well, this could be the last event. The China Open's gone. We don't know if the World Championship will definitely be on. So this could be a very decisive tournament in terms of who stays on and who doesn't. But they are different circumstances, we all know that.
Yes, and if it was a way of just making sure that play was able to continue, then it's just one round. And if you knew it was going to be for one match, then I put up on my Twitter on Foldsy147 of Dominic Dale sort of taking the balls out for his opponent, Jackson Page, and it did look odd, but Dominic didn't seem to be complaining about it. It's not ideal, but that's the way it had to be. It's a pragmatic way of getting through a session. As I say, the miss rule, well, I don't know quite how that works with a roaming referee, which they did have. They've had that in many a Pro-Am over the years, a roaming referee, but most of the time they haven't seen what happened that they're meant to be presiding over.
Yeah, the clue is in the word roaming, as opposed to referee.
Just to stop a fight there, therefore, I think, those referees. It's the breaking up of a scuffle between the players, which doesn't happen, really.
Well, of course, that did happen at the Crucible. Laurie Annandale had to separate Quinton Hatton and Andy Hicks that time. A lot of comments had gone on between the two of them, and Laurie got between them at the end.
Yes, and the funny thing about that, it resulted in a boxing match, but Andy Hicks was not in it. Mark King, for some reason, ended up in that fight, and he wasn't even playing.
I was there. It was. This is not a joke, by the way. It was called Pot Whack. It was at York Hall, Bethnal Green. 3 rounds. Mark King was a big favourite, but Quinton Han won on points.
I have to say, I think my money would have been on Mark King to win that. I didn't see the fight, and apparently I didn't miss a great deal.
No, I mean fight is maybe being kind, but yeah, they trained hard for it. Actually, it was a pretty bruising encounter, but
so Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler, it wasn't. You're saying, yeah?
Not quite, no, not quite. Anyway, on to more serious matters. Nothing potted yet. Of course, Igor's in a different position now because he's trailing, and the way Trump's playing, he knows one mistake could be end of match. So he's got to be very careful not to leave him anything on. The other problem he's got is Trump's own safety game is so good now.
Yeah, I think just that last shot we've just seen, they're terrific. If you wanted to put the cue ball on the table somewhere that was awkward, that would be the place. In that section of the table.
Well, they read out a couple of goes at dropping. Most important thing, doesn't seem to have left anything.
A lot of people watching from places with a horse racing connection. Somebody watching from Beverley I saw today. There's a racecourse there. Somebody watching from Utoxeter. Sarah mentioned her dad Glyn, who's watching from Utoxeter, the Gibraltar Open. Enjoy the game. And Grace McGarry watching from Strathavon in Scotland. Saying it's strange without spectators. It is a bit, isn't it? But at least we've got play. We have mentioned it, and you may not have been listening there or watching then, but of course the Championship League is played without spectators exclusively, which is a tournament, a series of groups. Actually, just recently won, Dave, wasn't it, by Scott Donaldson?
Yeah, Trump was the big favourite for obvious reasons. He won all 6 of his group matches, and then it goes into a playoff, semi-finals and final, and Scott beat him and won the tournament, beat Graham Dott in the final. And the thing about that was, in the group that he'd won initially to get into the winners' group, he was taken violently ill. He really was. He had play stopped for 40 minutes. And they were really worried about him, but when he came back, he managed to finish off and won the whole thing. So that's great for him because he'll be in the Champion of Champions next season. Now, Trump looking at a kind of a trick shot here. One red off the other. That's what he played. Just to reiterate, the last match on TV after this one will be Tom Ford against Jack Lisowski. And if you think these two take a lot of pots on, long pots on, then Jack Lisowski is almost on another level. Just a fantastic potter. Tom Ford also very attacking. So a little bit of calm in what's been a match that's been very fast-paced and attacking.
Sometimes happens, doesn't it? Matches start, with a lot of, shots played with a little bit less pressure on them, and double kiss has not helped. But as you get to the point where a player can win it, and especially in the case of Figueiredo, that would be a huge win for him. The shots look a little bit more difficult, played it slightly in a different way. Still, he hasn't done a lot of damage there, it seems. This red's not easy to start with. And this long red, I don't think he can get on the black from it. So whether it's any value in it, I don't know.
Just quickly to say, Li Hang has beaten Jamie O'Neill 4-1. So he'll play Mark Joyce or Zhu Si. It's 3-2 to Zhu Si there, but what a pot from Igor.
1.
Yeah, brilliant. As I say, he knows how to play power shots. He didn't really get a lot on this, but it was still particularly well played.
Blue ball.
Well, this really is
6.
An opportunity now. I don't know if he's gone far enough for a red to the right corner. The fact that he looked at the left red, because that would have probably taken him to the black, but with awkward cueing.
Seven. Black ball.
So just a safety.
Igor Figueiredo 7.
It's got a little bit cagey as we approach the business end of the match. Trump came very close to getting him in right behind the yellow there.
Well, it's a question of just getting the cue ball back there, and he's done it particularly well. That's steered it back in behind the yellow, although there is one red he can get to, and he might be able to pot it, in fact. Not easy, this. Big shot. Cue ball heading towards the reds. Well, he's managed to miss the reds. He's done well.
1.
Better shot than it looked, that one.
Three.
Yeah, there's that red again. Terrific pot. I guess the thing with that was he didn't have any other shot really. other than taking it on. He wasn't thinking I should be playing safe off another red. He couldn't see the others. Even so, it was still a terrific pot. As was that. What about that one?
4.
Well, it's already a great break. It only stands at 4. Look at this red. Flying in the yellow pocket.
Yeah, very difficult angle that. The ones that you cut it back almost. And the cue heads to the side cushion.
Well, not the best cannon, it would seem. Still a chance at the red, though.
Well, that one went dead straight, didn't it?
12.
Interestingly, one into the opposite middle pocket really turned in with the nap that Igor knocked in earlier on in the match.
Well, it's a chance now to win frame and match.
Delightful shot, really nicely played.
19.
Bit of awkward queuing, but it's not that awkward, not considering the red's pretty easy.
20.
As you say, this is a moment where he can go on and win what's been a very good game of snooker. Figueiredo continues to show people who might not know about him that he can play.
Yeah, it's not over yet, but if Trump does win, he's had to play well. He hasn't been able to just coast through in second gear.
27.
This man has taken the game to him. He's looked very good at times, but Trump, crucially, once again, has been responding.
28.
Seems to me just enjoys being top dog. He enjoys being the man to be shot at. Relishes it, backs himself with his game. Why wouldn't you if you could play like this? But there's a lot of temperament required to play snooker at the top level, and he's displayed that many, many times in the last year and a bit as he's scaled the peak and become world #1 world champion.
Yes, I know that a lot of people who were heading
36.
to Gibraltar, or people from the island itself, were there hoping to see Judd play today, and of course they weren't allowed in for reasons we've been through, but playing with no audience, they'll be disappointed not to have had the opportunity. But he does draw in the crowds as a rule.
39.
Hopefully many of those people can watch him on the TV this weekend. It's good that he's here and he's competing very hard. This has been a kind of match where if he wasn't really at his best, he would have lost it. But it kind of sums up his season. There's been very few lapses. I know he lost to Nigel Bond in the UK Championship. He did nothing wrong in that match, just didn't go his way. But in what's been a good long season for him as champion, you know, invariably he's always stepped up to the mark and played his best snooker with very few lapses.
Yes, I think
48.
we're lucky to have him as world champion. He's got a great attitude. He plays such an attractive game. And he's an incredibly polite young man. So a very good new figurehead, I guess, for the sport. That's what he's become. Just looking now to kill this off. 48 in front.
55.
So a couple more reds should do it. Igor
56.
Figueiredo's played pretty well, but it's a high standard required to beat Trump these days.
As you can see, that top red, got a perfect view of it there, right behind the shot. That goes, and Igor,
63.
when this goes in, will need snookers. He's unlikely to get the chance to get those snookers. So he's played a
64.
big part in the match, as Dave said, but he's going to lose it.
Well, what a great match, and a lot of people, maybe normal circumstances, wouldn't have been able to watch. Maybe a lot of people are watching snooker for the first time, but you've seen an entertaining match, and remember, There's another one still to come. Tom Ford, Jack Lazowski will be coming up after this one.
$69.
Well, of course, he wants another century. That's what he's looking for. Made that one earlier on to take his tally for the season to 90. Is that in? It's not. It's not.
Trump,
So
69.
no century. 69 to lead by 62. 3 snookers needed. Figueiredo's going to give it a go. Trump, though, looking good for a place in round 3.
Thank you. 1.
Well, that had to go in. It looks like handshake time. Well, actually, they don't shake hands, do they now? But it's concession time.
Judd Trump.
So Judd Trump has come through a very attractive match, entertaining match. He had to play well, and he did. Igor Figueiredo led twice, but Trump, once again, when asked questions, found the solutions, and he is still favourite for this Gibraltar Open title. He's into round 3. He's beaten Igor Figueiredo by 4 frames to 2.